Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast. We are your hosts, Kristen and Karan. On this podcast, we are highlighting ordinary people living extraordinary lives. These are pirates who take small, bold actions daily to create social change. Pirate life is all about rebelling and breaking the rules for good. Creating lasting social change starts by first breaking our inner rules. After all, the hardest rules to break are your own. The pirates we highlight have dedicated themselves to creating good trouble.
Today on our podcast, we're sitting down with BenJoy Walker. Ben is the head coach for the Strong Coach, which is a program we've talked about quite a bit on previous episodes. A digital nomad and has had the pleasure of being my coach, where he has helped me take messy pirate action in my own coaching career. Ben is dedicating to helping health and fitness coaches grow six-figure incomes and teaching them how to lead a life of freedom. Welcome, BenJoy.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. And yes, it was an absolute pleasure to be your coach, Karan. That was such a period of growth for me as a coach, and getting to go on that journey with you was amazing.
Yeah, it was like, just hours of tears. So
well, what I loved about that was it started off as, hey Ben, I want to get better at steel mace.
Yep.
And then there was a point, and this happened with you were one of two clients I've had who started off that way, and then you eventually stopped bringing your maces to the calls.
Yeah.
Because we got into other stuff.
Yeah. I think we played with the mace like twice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty amazing. And we're so happy to have you here and joining us today. And Ben, you're living the life of a land pirate. Traveling the country and working in so many different places and many epic offices of the day. And I know you started out very different. Things were very different for you not that long ago, when you were working in like musical theater and living in New York. So I'd love for you to tell us the tale of your epic pirate journey.
Oh my. So I guess starting from musical theater, I was a musical theater actor since I was 8 years old. So I started off doing community theater, fell in love immediately. And I did it in high school. I studied it in college. And that was always the thing that was a constant. Like sports came and went, other hobbies came and went, but theater was always there. So I went all in on that, and got the amazing opportunity to tour North America for 2 years with the national tour of Beauty and the Beast, where we played Vancouver, which I loved Vancouver. We were there for a week, and get like that experience touring the whole country, living on a bus with a family of actors was so much fun. And I got to see, like, I hadn't been west of the Mississippi before that. And now I've been to, I think by the end of that tour, I've been to 48 states. I've been to 49 now. I just have Hawaii left. And I got to see the whole country and how incredible it is, and all these cool places to go, cool places to explore. And I remember sitting in my hammock in between shows in Salt Lake City, watching the sun set behind the mountains and going, why the hell am I about to go back to New York City after this? What am I thinking? But that's what you get told the whole time you're in school is, or at least that's what I was told, is you got to go to New York. If you want to be an actor, that's where the money is. That's where the auditions are. Because even though there's theaters all over the country, they all come to New York to find the actors to do auditions. So after the tour closed, that's where I went. I moved there and was in and out of the city for various theater jobs between 2016 and 2019. And initially I was loving it. Like I was getting work. I got to play some really cool parts. I got to like understudy the Beast and Gaston for 2 years on the Beauty and the Beast tour, and then actually got to play Gaston at a theater like a year or two after the tour closed. So I was having a blast. And then I found the steel mace, and shit got different from there. I got certified as a personal trainer while I was on the road, because I naively thought that'll be a great side gig. that was woefully mistaken. And as I started to get deeper into working with the mace, I was getting pulled more in that direction. Like any of my free time that I had, I wasn't spending it going to voice lessons or dance classes. Anytime I wasn't auditioning or rehearsing for a show, I was doing stuff with the mace. And with that, like, even though on the Steel Mace Instagram community, I was gaining notoriety and I was one of the leaders in that space, I didn't actually have any clients. I was just another person posting cool videos of me doing cool shit on Instagram. And as I got deeper into that, I started getting this feeling that I was missing out. And I was confused about that, because on paper, I was living the dream. Mm-hmm. I joined the Actors Union. I had an awesome agent. I was forming relationships with regional theaters across the country. I was starting to get roles, like principal roles, and still was going, shit, I'm missing that fitness thing. I'm missing that steel mace thing. I was like, what's going on here? And the last audition season I did, which audition season is January to April in New York. And it's basically, you wake up every day at 5 a.m. and go wait outside the audition studio until it opens, so that you can stand in line to hopefully get seen for the audition. There's a lot. There was one audition where I woke up at 5 a.m. and I auditioned at 5 p.m. and spent the entire day sitting there hoping my name would get called. And as I was going through this last audition season, I realized I didn't actually want to do any of the shows I was auditioning for. I would look at a show and go, oh, there's a part for a mid-20s white guy. I'll audition for that. And they weren't anything that I was excited about. And it got to the point where I was ready to stop. I was uninspired. Like, this wasn't why I went to do theater. And I was looking at moving out to Denver to be a coach. Everyone knows Emily Schramm. I was in talks with her and her team about coaching at their gym. Mm-hmm. I was really excited about that. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to do it. And then I booked a bunch of work. I booked like a 4-month stretch of work at really good theaters. Like, one of them was a theater I'd had on a pedestal as one of the best regional theaters in the country since my freshman year of college. So I was like, oh my God, I'm working at PCLO. This is going to be awesome. And I got there and expecting like really high quality, expecting to be treated respectfully and, for the rehearsal process to be smooth and all of that. And that was not the case. There was, exactly the same amount of bullshit that there was at any other theater. And that was really, really frustrating for me. And what I noticed too is that a lot of the actors in the show were really jaded and entitled. Like, what I've realized is, actors don't have a lot of power. So you give them a little bit of power and they milk it for all it's worth. So it's like, we were supposed to have a 5-minute break 30 seconds ago. So I'm going to call the union about this. And I started to get sucked into that. And I didn't like how that felt. Felt really icky anytime I noticed myself being catty and entitled. So it was a frustrating month working at that theater. And I go to another theater for 14 weeks. And it was, again, totally uninspiring. On paper, amazing. Like, usually you're lucky if you get 4 weeks on a contract. And I got 14 and was miserable and couldn't wait for it to be over. And it was right as that last show was closing, that a class for the strong coach, class 4, of the Strong Coach 90-day program was launching. And I'd seen friends of mine, Leo Yerkidis and Serena Beatty, had both been through it. And I'd seen the transformation that they'd had. And I listened to the first season of the Strong Coach podcast and listening to the coaches that Mike interviewed. And I went, I want to sound like that. I want to be that kind of coach, that level of expertise in my field. So the Strong Coach cost exactly how much money I had in my savings at the time. And I was so torn because I was so scared to go broke. And the thought of going back to New York and doing that same audition grind again made me want to collapse into tears. I did collapse into tears a couple times. And then I called my parents about it. They were really supportive. And then I called Leo, or I texted Leo about it. And he goes, I just said, I'm thinking about this, but the money. He goes, Ben, fuck that money. You have it for a reason. So I got on the phone and signed up, dropped all my savings that I just worked 4 months doing theater to get, and went all in on the Strong Coach. I told my agent I wanted to take a hiatus from auditioning, and I haven't been back. It also froze my union membership, which I could still go back if I wanted to, but I don't want to. And went all in on coaching from there. So I was working in New York, initially working at a gym called Mark Fisher Fitness, which is the most fabulous gym in all the land. And one of the best job I've ever had up until Strong Coach. Such a great place to work. And then my own personal business took off. So I made the mistake of waiting until I had all my ducks in a row before I left Mark Fisher Fitness. And on paper, that sounds smart. But what ended up happening is I was working 2 full-time jobs at once. And I was burnt out. I was, between 145th Street down to 42nd, back up to 110th, then back to 145th, all over the place, carrying maces around. It was a shenanigan. So I left Mark Fisher and went all in on my own private coaching business. And it was around that time that I got tapped to be the next coach for the Strong Coach. So then I had this realization that, holy shit, there's no reason for me to be in New York City anymore. I don't have to be here. So the first step on my nomad journey was I realized I could batch all my in-person clients on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So then Friday to Tuesday, I could be anywhere I wanted. And my parents had a house in Vermont. So I'd go to New Jersey, which is where I grew up. I'd pop into New York City for 2 days, train my clients, and then go up to Vermont for a long weekend. And I remember the first time I did that, and it was the first time where going to that Vermont house was a regular part of my week. It wasn't a vacation. It was just something I did. And that's when I knew I was on the right track. Something's different here. And it started with that small step of being part-time in New York City. And as things with the Strong Coach started to pick up, Mike and Danny invited me to live with them in San Diego. So, and conveniently enough, right around that time, most of my in-person clients stopped working with me. So it was perfect. So I flew across the country and did training camp for the soul right when I got there, which that blasted me off, rewired my brain. And that's really when the nomad journey started. I was there for 6 weeks. And then I came home for Christmas. And then the day after Christmas, I drove across the country to Jacumba Springs for a New Year's party. And then that, I've been back to New Jersey once, back to the East Coast once since then. And I've been bouncing around all over the place from there. It went Denver to San Diego to Austin to San Diego to Costa Rica to the Arnold to back to San Diego. Then COVID hit and Mike and I evacuated San Diego to Utah. And then I've been all over the place since then. And I just finished my dream trip, which is called Follow Spring North, where we started in Arizona, Sedona, Arizona in March, right when spring is starting, which turns out is still pretty cold down there. And we camped and Airbnb'd our way all the way up the west side of the United States, following spring as it goes. And the whole group finished in Gig Harbor, Washington. And then I went on to Alaska, where like the big capstone was I spent a week in Katmai National Park, which if you've seen the picture of a bear catching a salmon on a waterfall, that's in Katmai.
Those are all my bear friends you got to meet in person.
Yes, I did. Oh,
Yes.
that was the coolest thing about Fat Bear Week. He was like, oh yeah, I saw him. That was great.
I was having fun sending you messages like,
Yeah.
hey, these are my friends. You met them.
Yeah. So that's been the the nomad journey for me. And I've just now signed a lease in Bend, Oregon, which has been a whole new experience. It's weird. Like this is the first time I've traveled in like 2 months. And it was a very interesting, like familiar and also like a familiar experience. And also like, oh, wow, I haven't done this in a while. And I'm used to doing it all the time. So moving into a new chapter where I'm basing myself out of somewhere. And I can adventure, but at the same time, Bend is the outdoor playground I've always wanted. So I'm having a lot of fun exploring Bend, doing all the rock climbing, hiking. Ski season is going to start soon. So, you know, my life motto is fun is the point. And I'm having as much as I possibly can right now. And it's a blast.
It's funny how many, maybe it's not funny, but how many of the pirates that we talk to that are leading or have at one point just really led that nomadic lifestyle. And I remember I sent you one of our episodes was a guy that we interviewed, a friend of mine named Di Manuel. And it was so funny. They're based in Vancouver, and he took his wife and 2 small children, and they went nomadic. And instead of following spring north, their motto was like following the sun south. So they they follow the sun and the warmth, and it's a theme that's come up time and again. And so I'm wondering, what was it about being nomadic that really drew you to that lifestyle, rather than like, hey, Bend is a really cool place and has all the stuff that I want, let me just move here and settle here right away? What was it about the traveling that
it was a big part of it was having done it when I was on tour. 2 years of living that way and loving it. And while I was doing that, I was on somebody else's schedule. So like we'd go to a really cool city where there was tons of shit to do, but I had a show every night. And even if we were there for a week, we'd have like sound check the first time. Then if it was a week, we'd usually have 2 rehearsals during the day. So that really only left like a day or 2 to actually explore the city. So there was a lot of places that I went where I just barely scratched the surface of what I could see there. And like the worst was like being in Colorado and looking at the 14ers and not having time to hike any of them. So a big part of this was wanting to go back on those adventures on my own time and be able to see all the places that I'd wanted to see, and to do it my way, where I could say, like, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. This is how long I want to take. Because too, I hate being rushed. that was the other thing. It was like, oh, we got to like hurry and do all this stuff because we got the show, or we got rehearsal, or like, oh, we got it. Like my pet peeve was like, oh, I can't, that's too hard, we have a show.
Mm.
And in my head, I was like, but we're out here. Like, isn't it worth it? Which it was to me. So I had this wanderlust, this unfulfilled wanderlust. I was like, it was a huge tease going on tour. And I always had that at the front of my mind of wanting to be able to do that. And at the same time, being stuck in New York, because if that was how I wanted to make money, then I had to be there. Because even like other cities like Chicago, I don't know this for sure, this is what I was told, is they don't pay you enough. Like everyone in Chicago also has to have a side job, which I didn't want to do. So I handcuffed myself to that city. So I saw all of these adventures that I wanted to have, and either felt like I couldn't have them, that they were unattainable, or that it had to be a vacation. Which then too is like, when the hell am I going to have time to do that? Because if I'm not auditioning, then I'm doing a show. And I didn't do shows in very inspiring places. Like, nothing against anyone from Indiana or Missouri, but like, there's not much going on there. And I as much as like the travel aspect of that was cool, it wasn't too inspiring places. Like something that's really important for me is to wake up in a place where I'm excited to be there. And I wasn't excited about being in New York. So that's really this trip has been a whole 2 years of waking up somewhere where I'm excited to be there, excited that that's my home. I also have a big goal of my unreasonable mountain house that has a polished wood spiral slide from the 3rd floor to the 1st floor.
That'll be amazing.
So, it's gonna be fucking great. So I've been location scouting for that. That was another part of this journey. Is I've got a vision of like, snow-covered mountains and all of that. And the first step is, where do I want to put it?
Have you found a place that feels like the place yet?
Bend is the front runner. Bend is the front runner. Although Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado has like literally the view that I pictured. When I went there, I hiked on top of the tallest sand dune, and I went, holy shit. That's exactly what I picture when I think about looking out the window of my mountain house. So Colorado is also a possibility. As much as I want to abolish time zones too, the mountain time zone is my favorite one, if I have to pick one. So that's possible too. And that's what's cool about this lifestyle is I'm ready to go at a moment's notice. I've got a house, but if I've got to go somewhere, I know what to throw in my car. I know where to go. I know where to camp. Like I could easily, when I went to Alaska, because I had all my camping stuff with me, because I was going to be backpacking in Katmai, I canceled my Airbnb after 2 days because I realized I've got everything I need. I've got a rental car. I've got my tent. There's free campsites all around Alaska. I don't need an Airbnb. So I camped for like a week and a half, both like car camping and backpacking, because I could. And it was really easy and I knew how to do it. So, I'm ready to go anywhere, whenever. I'm always down for an adventure.
That's one thing, like Lance and I started talking. I've loved having this place where it's felt like home for the first time in a long time, and we're also ready to, for the first time, explore and figure out like where feels like a great place to land, because everywhere we've gone has been for a reason. So, you're very inspiring in that. And I'm glad I know somebody that I can ask. Like, we're going here. What do you suggest we do?
And when the apocalypse happens, I know the coolest places to camp.
So we're going to you.
Yeah, that's what there'll be encrypted messages going out.
Good.
With GPS coordinates when that goes down.
Perfect. That's kind of funny you say that, because so my last job, my corporate job, I worked in hazmat, which for like 13 years. And I got to see some really cool places across Canada. But yes, I was maybe dealing with a train derailment at the time and didn't really get to have an adventure. But I got to find some really cool spots. And I was sent on this job, and the location will remain a secret. And it is the perfect apocalypse spot. And we have developed our apocalypse team, mostly Canadian. You guys are more than welcome to obviously join. But we have this like very isolated, remote community that had been abandoned. There's still houses there. The only way in is by water. And we're like, this is where we're settled. This is where we rebuild humanity during the apocalypse. We've got everything we need right here. So we also have a plan. And if you guys are that close in Bend and you want an actual house instead of camping, come check us out, because we got the apocalypse plan as well. Perfect. It's an important plan to have. Everyone should have an apocalypse plan and an entire team.
Yeah, make sure it's a fun one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You don't do the apocalypse with a shitty view.
No. Why?
Yeah, dopeness first, y'all. If you're gonna do the apocalypse, make sure it's cool.
Yeah. I've seen Walking Dead. That's not where I want to end up.
No.
I did. Has any of you read The Stand by Stephen King?
No.
Because that's a very relevant book, because it's about a flu-like virus that sweeps the nation and kills off a whole bunch of people except those who are mysteriously immune to it. And when Mike and I, when we went to Utah, he just kicked down my door and was like, yo, I'm going to Utah in 4 hours. Are you coming? So we drove through the night. And as I'm driving, I'm like, oh my God, this is the beginning of a Stephen King novel. So we're in it right now. And I was like, this is just the prologue right now. Mm-hmm. Like there's a whole 1,000-page book that's ahead of us.
True.
This is.
So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing with the Strong Coach then.
So with the Strong Coach, what we do is we help coaches make a living doing what they love and working in their passion. Because the problem in the coaching industry is coaches get these awesome certifications and they've got all this knowledge. They could help so many people, but the certifications don't tell them how to make money. They don't tell them how to market themselves. They don't tell them how to charge appropriately. They don't tell them how to scale. They don't tell them how to schedule their time. Your certifications don't tell you any of that. So there's all these coaches out there who could be helping so many people, but they're missing the business tools. And along with that, often those coaches have imposter syndrome. Who am I to be a coach? What do I have to offer? Someone's already said it. Why should I, add my voice to that? Or they're afraid of asking for money. They don't want to sell. They don't want to sound sleazy. The biggest indicator that you're one of these coaches is if you say, I'm not in it for the money. Because then it's like, cool, you don't have to have any money. Give it all to me. I'll take it. It's okay to say that you want to have money, that you want to receive money for your services. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we take those two problems and we have a 4-month program where we help coaches through that. So we start with helping them dial in the vision of what do they really want? They don't just want to train a couple clients. What's the big, massive impact, the 10-year, 50-year impact that you want to make on the world with your coaching? And then we create a roadmap to get there. And along the way, we teach them how to market themselves, how to sell without sounding sleazy, how to charge appropriately, and really how to set up their business so that it supports their life, their dream lifestyle, as opposed to them having to put all that on hold because they've got to be at the gym all day training clients. And along the way, we help them with their own personal development as a person. And what is really the source of that imposter syndrome? Why is it that you don't think you're good enough to call yourself a world-class coach? And it's been an incredibly rewarding experience to coach that and see so many transformations over and over and over again of coaches who have no clue where to start when they get into the program to then, selling out their first round of their beta programs before they even graduate. And it's actually been really handy because I'm working on my own program right now, and it's been really funny to notice all the same stories come up. Like, oh, no one's going to buy my thing. No one's paying attention. Can I actually do this? And I get to go like, oh, wow, there's that story. Cool. Oh, look at that one that I've coached like 50 people through. That's funny.
You have it too.
Yeah, I experience all the same ones. And I get to, because I've got all these reps of helping other people through them, I'm able to go like, oh, imposter syndrome. Oh, that's cute. I know I've got this. Let's go.
I love actually that you mentioned that these things are coming up for you as well. I remember having conversations with one of my clients about something I was going through, and she's like, I'm sorry, if this was me, what would you say to me? I'm like, oh, that's easy. I would tell you this. She's like, Karan, you need to coach yourself sometimes. Like, yeah, right. I know the answer to this one.
That's the thing. I can't let myself get away with my own bullshit.
Yeah.
Was a blessing and a curse, because like sometimes I want to indulge and I was like, oh, I'll just be safe. I'll play it small. It's like, come on. Come on. Like, way better than that. And if any of your clients heard you say this, they wouldn't know who I was. So it's really cool and really helpful to be someone who's in that position of coaching coaches, because then like really all my clients are my accountability. Because who am I to be a coach if I'm going to let myself be ruled by the same stories and imaginations that I help my clients with? So it's been working for the Strong Coach has been rewarding in so many ways because of that.
Yeah, and I went through the Strong Coach a long time ago, and I understand that there's been lots of changes. I mean, it's longer, and we had Mike Bledsoe on here not that long ago, and just talking to him about some of the changes. And even for me, the personal development side of that program was huge, and things like you said, dealing with sales and the money stories. And it's so funny now that at my gym and where I work, I'm now like the closer. I'm the one who if you need to know how to get a client to sign up, ask Karan, because I don't know how she does it. And like such a huge part of it is, you're right. Like, I don't feel sleazy or salesy asking, and I'm not hesitant asking for money. Like, this is what it is. This is how much my services cost. And I'm here to help you. And I know I can help you. And it's such a different mindset around the whole sales conversation. So yeah, thank you, Strong Coach, for that, because it's made a huge difference. And in that, even just that one aspect made a huge difference in my coaching career, if we took out all the other things.
What was the switch for you, Karan?
Just having that story in my head about what did sales mean to me. And I can't remember what exactly the exercise was, but like, hey, sales to me was sleazy, used car salesman, all of these things that were so negative when it came to sales. And having that idea of like, oh, I don't want to be that negative, sleazy salesman, versus like, hey, I'm offering you this service that I know that can help you. And like, it would be a disservice to you if I let you walk away, knowing that I could help you with everything that you've just told me, because I've asked you all these questions. I know exactly what you're looking for. We've dug deep into this conversation. And I know so much now because I've asked the right questions. And I know I have the tools to help you. And it goes the other way too. I've had this conversation with you, and if I know I don't have the tools to help you, I'm not trying to like hoard that client to me anymore. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I know a coach that coaches here that will really help you with your golf game. That's what he does. He does TPI fitness. He's like super into golf. Let me actually refer you to him, rather than trying to force like this thing because I'm so scared of losing the money that might come with that client. So it goes both ways. It's like, I'm not hoarding it. I'm not scared of it. I'm also not afraid to ask and make the right decisions. And so yeah, there was a lot of little small subtle things that came up in the strong coach around sales and money, that have had a huge impact on just how I conduct my business.
Yeah, that's what one of the relationship to money is something that that we work on quite a bit. And we actually have there's 2 rounds of one-on-one calls that everyone does in our freedom program. And one of them is specifically, we're doing them right now, is specifically about relationship to money. Because here's the thing, everyone listening, money's imaginary. That dollar
it's
bill
energy.
The dollar bill is only worth $1 because enough people agree it's worth $1.
Mm-hmm.
If
Well,
they
and
stopped, it would stop being worth anything.
It's numbers too. Most of us don't even see that dollar anymore. It's a numbers in a bank account.
Exactly.
Mm.
So like people have this, a whole array of stories of like people with a lot of money are greedy, or you have to work hard. This is an interesting one, working with someone who said, my parents were really honest people. They worked hard to make good money. I was like, well, if they're honest people and they work hard to make good money, what happens if you work differently than them? Are you dishonest and make scam money? Because that's what's going on in their head.
Yeah.
Like the same thing is if someone is saying rich people are greedy, which that's a huge societal story that we get told in, fairy tale after fairy tale. Well, I don't want to be rich then, because then I'll be greedy. And then they sabotage themselves out of ever having any money. And like even the having to say a value statement, like, I'm not in it for the money. Like, oh no, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it to help people. It's like, cool. Can you help people if you don't have any food in your fridge? Like, can you help people if like you don't have a car to get to them, if you don't have a house to live in? If you live in this society, you have to agree to use money. That's, for better or worse, that's how this society works right now. So like recognizing that money's imaginary, we can tell whatever story we want about it. And it is so common that coaches come in and they're sabotaging themselves out of ever having any money because they've got some belief running under the surface about what this imaginary thing is. So we work extensively on that.
And even like take it the unlifted way and do the 1-word game. How much money do I need to make? How much money do I want to make? Right?
What about how much do I get to make?
How much do I get to make?
Yeah.
I'm more excited now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's the thing is people go like, oh, well, what shall I charge? Like, how much do you want? Like, and that's how we teach it too, is what's your ideal lifestyle that you want? How much money does that cost per month? Cool. Divide that up by how many clients you want to work with. That's how much you charge. And it's really simple. And I notice coaches will they'll be like, oh, I have to like add features to make sure it's valuable enough. When like in reality, the magic formula for what you should charge is based entirely on your ability to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can sell someone on their own vision, then it's however much money you want.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is that simple. And it's fun to look at that now when like I've done just as an experiment once, I pitched someone $5,000 for a weekend just to see if I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
With my breath smooth. Like, where am I? I did. My breath was smooth. She didn't have the money, but my breath was smooth, which that was the win.
Yay.
And it was really simply me going, can I ask for that much for myself?
Mm-hmm.
And it was easy to do because I can tell whatever story I want about money. For me, money is fuel for my adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have so much gratitude for my clients. Like, Karan, do you know how much cool shit you paid for?
I'm glad.
Like,
Good job, Karan.
I've gotten to do so much badass shit, and it's all been supported by my clients.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been supporting myself entirely off of coaching for the last 3 years.
Mm.
So my clients have supported me to having this whole adventure that I've been on. And that's how I view money, as simply that, fuel for my adventures. And I provide a service to them in return for it.
Mm.
And that's it. There's no like extra virtue or value on money.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as gas in my car or food in my belly.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
So what is, with the work that you're doing, what is a social rebellion? I mean, we've kind of hit on a bunch of different things, but what is the main social rebellion that you're looking to do with your work?
Oh, this idea that you can't make a living being a coach, that you've got, I'm rebelling against real jobs.
It's a good rebellion.
I don't know what the hell that means. I've never had one. Like my until I was a coach, my only job was performing. My first job was at a theme park where I did a drum show, and I was the Flash and the Green Lantern. Like that was my first job.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what a real job is. And people get this idea that you have to go work in an office, or your passion can only be your side gig. And I think that is such a crock of shit, because then you end up in this life where you're slaving away until you retire, and then you get to enjoy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes no sense to me. And it's such a garbage narrative that we've been fed for generations.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm rebelling against that, because like I'm living proof, you're both living proof that you can make a living working in your passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to put an end to that narrative that you can't.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I went to school to be a teacher. Couldn't find a teaching job for the life of me for a while. And then eventually, like, I started tutoring, and first time I was offered a salary, like full-time, not hourly. I was offered a salary, and I was like, I feel so grown up. And then moved out to Oregon. I got another full-time job, not salaried for that one. And I was like, I should feel grown up, but now I'm wearing a uniform. I look like everybody else, and I feel like a kid again too. Like I'm going back to school. And I enjoyed the teaching part, but there wasn't joy in going to my job every day. And I had fallen into that narrative so hard of this is what life is. And it was not where I wanted to be at all.
That was the exact same thing that happened to me with theater.
Mm.
And I realized that I was like, the same thing happened to me as people saying like, oh, you got to get a real job, is like when you do theater, especially when you're doing community theater, you get these old blue-haired ladies coming up to you like, oh, that was so great. That was better than Broadway. I can't wait till you're up to see you on Broadway. So I had that, like, oh, I'm supposed to go to Broadway. That's supposed to be my dream. And when that stopped being my dream, it was like the rug got pulled out from under me. And it was really hard to adjust, but I realized that one, I was living someone else's dream, wasn't mine anymore. And two, I made the choice to be a professional actor when I was 16. How many of your 16-year-old decisions would you stand by today?
Yeah, not many.
And that's the thing is, people like I guess, I don't know what percentage of people decide on their major early, like when they go to university. But then that's their assignment.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go use my major. And they pigeonhole themselves immediately. And there's no room for any sort of exploration beyond that. There's no room for something new. And for some people, that's great. Like some people find their passion there and it's like, yeah, I will cruise through that. But for the people who realize later that that's not their passion and they were just doing what they thought they were supposed to do, there's absolutely a way out. And it does take piracy. It does take that pirate attitude of, yeah, I'm going to make my own way. I'm going to be unreasonable as fuck and jump off of this cliff without a parachute.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have sort of the opposite story, whereas my very first job at 15 was coaching at a community center. I was coaching kids karate, and then I became a personal trainer at a gym, and I loved the job. And it was the opposite effect of that. I can't make money doing this. And then I had to go and get a real job, go and get one of those real careers. And I've had multiple careers during that time. And it's not until I realized that I could make a career actually following my passion that I love to do since I was 15, that like, hey, this is a real job. This is a real career. This is a real way for me to earn and receive money. So I think there are times where we do know when we're young what that passion is. If we just don't know how to follow that because we listen to other people's stories about what a real job should be.
And most of the time, those people are like unconsciously or consciously jealous of the passion that you're following. And whether they know it or not, their ego wants to come in and hold you down so that they can keep their own status to themselves. Like the classic parent who's, like more invested in their kid succeeding in sports than the kid is. And it's ultimately that parent's own jealousy of, well, I didn't do it. And as much as we all love our parents, like that's theirs. That's their responsibility. And if anyone out there wants to start living in their passion and making a living that way, you got to put that stuff to the side. And even though like I was really fortunate to have parents who supported me the whole way, but if your parents didn't, or your social circle doesn't, or whatever narrative or the Instagram accounts you follow don't, then like you've got to choose. Like which one do you actually want to put your energy to? Pick the fun one.
The fun one. Speaking of fun, we've been at several parties together. You've been practicing your DJ skills. Fun is the point is your is your tagline too. So what are you doing to throw better parties so that you can save the world versus the people that are trying to destroy it?
What I'm doing is inviting everybody out. Like that was the big thing with Follow Spring North was the biggest thing that made that happen was I told people about it. Like if you want your vision to come true, share it with people. That's the best way to do it. Cause that's all I did. I told people it was happening And I was like, yeah, meet me in Sedona, March 14th. And people showed up.
Mhm.
And then like people showed up along the way who I wasn't expecting to show up. And it's one of my mantras is I create the hangout environment.
Mm.
So I create the space for people to come have fun, because especially with the nomadic lifestyle, so many people want to do it. And they don't know how, or they think it costs way more money than it does, or they're afraid of being lonely, that they don't do it. So I saw that. And then having gone out and done it by myself, I saw how inexpensive it was. And I saw how easy it was, how safe it was too. And so I invited people out. Our friend Sean Lazio, he was like the beta, so to speak, was like, yeah, dude, like let's go on a road trip. So we road tripped from Colorado to the Tetons, Yellowstone, Glacier National Park, and then to Salt Lake City, Utah for a retreat. And from then on, I kept inviting people. It's like, come on over. Let's go to McCall, Idaho for all of October. Why? Because I've got nothing to do. I haven't hung out in Idaho. Let's hang out in Idaho. Wouldn't that be cool? And what I've found is like in terms of like facilitating the party, is it's a simple matter of getting the right group of people together with the intention to have fun.
Mm.
And someone's got to send out the invitation, because otherwise you just end up like, what do you want to do? Oh no, what do you want to do? Oh, like, and you get stuck in that loop. It's like someone's got to say, hey, we're doing this.
Well, I like to joke about January, when the party happened at my house, where I don't even know if fully any of us know what started everybody here. All I know is I kept hearing different people were coming. I'm like, hey, I hear you're coming this way. Hey, I'd love to see you if you come this way. And then we ended up with a party at my house. And yeah, that was somewhere along the way. I like to joke that there was a whisper on the wind that said, hey, come to Portland, come to Oregon. We're going to have a party.
Yeah. I loved how that one came together.
Mm.
And what I love about parties like that is the side effects of when you bring a dope group of people together. Because like at that party, and it happened all during Follow Spring North, people were blasting off. They'd get clarity on their business. They'd get clarity on some like piece of childhood trauma that they'd still been holding on to. And there was a lot of deep work that went on. Like that New Year's party, especially, there was some witchy wizardry going on, channeling and spirits and all sorts of shit. But that wasn't why we did it. We did it because we wanted to go have fun. And I've had conversations with people who are like, oh yeah, you're doing like this whole conscious community and like really doing the work. It's like, no. Like I'll say it right now, I will never be a part of a conscious community. If it calls itself a conscious community, I'm going to go out and find some people who want to have fun. Because that's how you naturally make that stuff happen. Like people want the conscious community because they want to grow with a group of like-minded people who want to live the same way. And when you try to make that happen, it becomes inauthentic and often egoic. And the people I've met who say they're in a conscious community, a lot of the time are charlatans. Like they become exclusive and exclusionary. And there's like, oh, well, we're in a conscious community, you know? Like I remember a moment where someone said something about a community. She's like, oh, well, is it conscious? What the fuck does that even mean?
We're mostly conscious.
Yeah, because and that's why fun is the point. Because ultimately that's the feeling that we're all going for. It's not a matter of what you're doing. The doing is secondary. It's the feeling, whatever fun feels like to you. That should be the goal. So I don't care if that's reading a book, rock climbing, or making Excel spreadsheets. If you feel fun when you're doing it, perfect. And that's what happens when you get the right group of people together to have fun, is naturally leaps in personal development happen. And brainstorms happen. Because I mean, I know a lot of people have been to like summits or retreats, and like when there's, facilitation and speakers and stuff, there's some cool stuff that happens, but the real magic happens in the hot tub in between the presentations. So with like bringing my friends out to Idaho and then Follow Spring North, it was me creating the hot tub for all of that to happen naturally. And it was so much fun. And that was the whole point of it. Like, I'm really grateful for all the growth that I experienced, that my friends experienced. And if we'd been trying to do that, it would have been work. Like, you can even hear it sometimes in the way people talk. Like, a lot of the time, like I hear it, like play is a buzzword nowadays. It's like, I want to integrate more play into my life. Does that sound like something a 5-year-old wants to do?
No, they just do it.
Exactly. Like, a buddy of mine, he asked his like 5-year-old son a question of like about like past lives, because he's like, well, he's the closest to it. He's way closer to it than I am. And he's like, do we think we carry on like our past lives into this life? And he just goes, Dad, can we go play? Boom, that's it. Like, stop trying so hard and go have fun.
Yeah, that was life working with 5-year-olds. Play all day somewhere, and they learn along the way. So.
Yeah. Like, that's like, if you look at a gorilla doesn't get jacked because it goes, well, I got to swing through 5 trees today at this intensity, and I got to make sure I move my joints. No, it just goes, swings around in the trees, or it wrestles other gorillas for fun. Like, that's how animals learn. And then at some point, humans thought, no, we have to sit in a classroom and learn how to add these imaginary numbers together. That's knowledge. That's how you learn. And I was homeschooled until high school, and I remember being in high school and my teachers talking about like, oh yeah, well, this will prepare you for the real world. And I laughed. It's like, this is nothing like the real world. Not even a little bit. And what I'd even to like they would say like, oh, you got to write this way because that's how they do it when you go to college. No, they don't. Nothing like MLA formatting. I saw everyone do MLA formatting different when I went to college. Like, what the hell was the point of that? And like, you bring kids together, have them have fun, they'll learn the shit. They'll learn what they need to learn. You can let them do it. You don't have to force them to learn these, who did what, who fought what war in what year, and what's the square root of my left ass cheek. Like, like, all of that is useless if you're not having fun.
Well, Karan, you have a question. I was trying to see. I'm like, is Karan going to ask something?
No, I was just going to say, where can our listeners go to find out more about you and what you're doing?
Best spot is on Instagram. It's BenJoy Walker on Instagram. And that's where I'm talking about all the adventures I'm on, and where you can see what fun is the point looks like, because I make it a point to live that way every day.
And go see some pictures of my bear friends in Alaska.
Yes, I've got pictures of the bears up there too.
We moved houses, and we're only like 7 minutes away from where we lived before. But there's no bears here. We were right next to the forest in our old house, and there's no bears in my driveway anymore. And I'm sad about that. And I need to move 7 minutes back the other way towards the forest.
Let's go find the wildlife.
Yes.
Go play with them.
Absolutely. Cuddles.
Mm-hmm. Well, and how would you recommend that our listeners start their own pirate journeys?
Start small. Because I think a lot of people get tripped up with like, oh, I've got to sell all my possessions and move into a van. And that's a big jump to make. Like going from living in an apartment in a city to living on the road, big jump. Some people can make it. Some people need to work up to it. I worked up to it. Like my first step was staying on the East Coast and living part-time in New York City. That was my first step on the nomad journey. So when I do goal setting with someone, after we've set the goal, the first question I ask is, what is the smallest action you can take to move this goal forward? The smallest one, and start there. Because then if you end up getting ahead of yourself and looking at the whole elephant instead of that first bite that you're going to take. So make it small.
Good one. Small bites. I think we've heard that elephant one a few, or maybe that's what my friend Patty likes to use, but I've heard that elephant one a few times. Like, yeah, how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time.
It's one of those cliche things that people like to gloss over because like, oh, it's a cliche, but like, it's still accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a cliche for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have to eat it one bite at a time. That's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
There is not a living thing in the world that could eat an elephant in one bite.
Nope.
Oh, and you know, there's our very enlifted saying from Mark England: action dispels overwhelm, right? So when you're looking at this big picture and you're like, where do I even freaking start? You start with that smallest thing, because that little bit of action is going to help to break that overwhelm. Because you do just have to take one step at a time, or you get to take one step at a time. You can't take 10 steps at a time.
And I've noticed this with rock climbing.
Mm.
I've been rock climbing a lot because Bend is awesome for that. And the thing with rock climbing that people don't realize is you climb the rock with your feet. Your hands are just there to hold you onto the rock. You actually raise yourself up with your legs. And usually, if you don't know where to put your hands, it's because you have to move your feet.
Mm.
And inevitably, when I'm stuck in one of those places, where do my hands go? I move my feet up a little bit. And then when I stand, I go, oh, that's where my hand goes. So it is taking that little step up of like, huh? Oh, right. I can do that now. But you have to take that little action instead of going for that huge, big reach. It's going to stretch you out. It's like, well, step your feet up and then you're higher, and then you can actually see where you're putting your hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great analogy.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense. Well, were you going to ask the question, Kron?
No, please. Your turn.
We want to know. Our favorite question is: do you know any pirate jokes?
Yes, I had one. I put it in the intake sheet, and then I forgot what it was. Shoot, I don't off the top of my head. I feel like an idiot now.
I know what yours was.
Yeah. I can tell you how it started. You didn't put the punchline in.
Tell me how it starts.
So I'll ask you, and then you can give us the punchline. Yeah. How do pirates know they're pirates?
Oh. They think, therefore they are.
Perfect.
Do you know any pirate songs? We haven't had singing yet.
I don't know any pirate songs. I know a lot of musical theater. I don't know a lot of pirate songs.
Are there a lot of pirate songs?
I don't know. There's like those shanty songs, but they're not really pirate.
The first song that comes to mind is the SpongeBob SquarePants song.
Oh man. Well, this has been fun having you on here, Ben. And thank you for joining us. And hopefully everyone go check out Ben and what he's doing with his own stuff and with Strong Coach.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. And if anyone wants to get out on the road and start having fun, shoot me a message because you're invited.
Awesome. And I
wanna
just
bring
saw in the
friends to hang
news
out.
that apparently in about a month, they're actually going to open our borders between Canada and the US.
Wait, what? In a
Yeah.
month?
Yeah, in about a month.
Get down here, Karan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's all go to
Down
Bend.
here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go to Bend.
Party in Bend.
No.
Party in Bend.
I would
What's-
say
Ben and
what's it
Ben.
also
now?
come to
It's-
me, and then we'll go to Ben in Bend.
Yeah. So we're looking at mid-November, party in Bend, my house. Everyone's invited.
All right.
Sounds great.
And sometime party in my house, a friend Akara decided she found a good spot to put her DJ equipment. And I'm like, I have to have another party. So-
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Figure out when we can get her back from Canada.
Yeah.
Well, the same time as I can come back.
There we go.
It's rock and roll, guys. There are no rules. This one goes to 11.